Kashmir is vast and beautiful. It is also likely a land you haven't heard of, even though it is currently under war between India and Pakistan, and many lives have been lost. There has been much bloodshed, and yet still the area is not really frequently talked about. The land is full of mountains and is divided into three regions: the Valley of the Hulamar, which includes the Vale of Kashmir in the central portion. You have the mountains around Jammu and the S, and the greatest mountains of the Karakum Range in North Kashmir. The country is ancient. The history stretches on and on. Kashmir is larger than 200,000 square kilometers and holds more than 12 million people, according to the 2014 book Encyclopedia Britannica. Unfortunately, in the last few decades, this area has been hard at war. Kashmir has been in dispute between India and Pakistan, and though the two countries have tried to compromise, the area is still being fought over. The previously Indian occupied area has been organized into two groups, Kashmir and Jammu. The historic capital of the state is Singapore. Today we will talk about the history of Kashmir, the economy, and we will talk about the government. First, we're going to talk about the history of Kashmir, and it extends far back. From the 2014 book, Funk and Wallace, New World Encyclopedia, written by Funk and Wallace, I learned that Kashmir is an ancient country that derived its name according to tradition from the Qazi, who were people who lived in the North Mountains several centuries to the Christian era. Kashmir was mostly a Buddhist and Hindu region, but that changed during the 14th century. Muslims took over the area and it became part of the Mughal Empire and stayed this way for 2 centuries until British colonialism happened. After India and the rest of the countries were given their freedom, Kashmir was given the choice on whether it would go back to India or if it would go to Pakistan. Obviously, the people in Kashmir had differing opinions, and before they could reach a conclusion, war broke out between the land. People were angry that they were having to wait this far. People weren't sure if they were going to come to a conclusion, and so instead of an agreement, they got war. Kashmir's first war was 1947 and lasted until 1948. It occurred between India and Pakistan, and obviously they both believed that they deserved the land. In August of 1965, there was another war between India and Pakistan, triggered by hostilities between India and Pakistan patrols on the ceasefire line. After that, India and Pakistan called for a ceasefire. In 1947, they signed the Simla Agreement, which put a territory barrier between the two nations in Kashmir, and this agreement also said that India and Pakistan will talk peacefully and they will ease future tensions. Obviously, this did not last long. People became annoyed because the dispute was left at a standoff and hadn't really been resolved. And so there was internalized resentment building between people in Kashmir, especially among the Muslim population who felt that they didn't get as much land as they deserved. And there were terrorist attacks, there was guerrilla warfare, and other attacks occurred in order to gain independence. Next, we're going to talk about the economy of Kashmir. The natural beauty and beautiful locations have made it a favored destination for tourists around the world. According to Lee M. and Chuck Goodwin, an author of Kashmir An Overview, Jammu is famous for its temples, while Kashmir Valley is known for its lakes and gardens. Jammu and Kashmir expect to witness 22.7 million tourists, and that is expected to happen in 2020, compared to 9.5 million arrivals that happened in 2014. Rivers, including the Indus, which is the main water supply for India, runs through relatively narrow, but heavily in Kashmir. The valley of the Renham River, the celebrated Vale of Kashmir, it's the most populous area and the economic heart of the region. It produces abundant crops of wheat and rice. The noted handcraft industry, particularly the making of woolen shawls and clothes have recently declined, as before it was a major part of Kashmir. Lastly, we're going to talk about the government. The state of Jammu and Kashmir, India's only Muslim majority state, is normally governed by a chief minister responsible to a bicameral legislature with one elected house and by a governor appointed by the President of India. It consists of an executive led by the governor in Jammu and Kashmir, a judiciary and legislative branch. Like other states in India, the head of state of Jammu and Kashmir is governor appointed by the President of India on the advice on the central government. His or her post is largely ceremonial. The chief minister is the head of government, and her name is Myram Kumar Singh. She is the deputy CM of Kashmir and Jammu. Kashmir actually has a house that has 89 members in the lower house, and in the upper house there's 36 members. They all serve 6-year terms, and they do that unless it is sooner dissolved. The assembly is housed in a palace, actually. The Jammu and Kashmir High Court has branched into Srinagar and Jammu, which are also the capitals. Like all the states of India, Indian controlled parts of Jammu and Kashmir have a multi party democratic system of governance. Obviously, one issue that is definitely under debate in, in Kashmir politics right now is whether they should give Kashmir the land, if they should give India the land, if they should just pick a side in order to end the war, or if they should go ahead and become an independent nation. And that has also been talked about. I mean, obviously, a conclusion hasn't come out of this, but it's definitely a big speculation in government right now. They're still wondering what they should do about it. Kashmir is a beautiful place and a hit tourist attraction for people, and yet the region isn't spoken about enough. Neither is the conflict of Kashmir, which features people tired from war and bloody. The history of Kashmir as past wars were discussed. We discussed the government and we discussed the economy of Kashmir. The land is a beautiful place, but hard to visit right now because of the war. Though it has been getting better, today Kashmir is in a better place than it's ever been in the past few decades. And while the violence has not completely gone away, Kashmiris are extremely judgmental of each other still. However, the region is doing much better than it has in years past. Thank you.